Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Arnold, and I'm 19 years old. And today I want to share with you how I went to living in an apartment with my dad to deciding to go all the way into investing right out of high school. So, I want to start off saying my childhood wasn't any different from the kids I grew up with. Like, there was no difference between me and them. The only difference was the mindset that my father had and that he ingrained in me growing up. So, I kind of want to show you what that looks like in the journey that I went on. We're going to draw a timeline, and we're going to start out saying 3 to 6. So, in that range, I remember at 3 or 4 years old getting up every morning and reading the Bible. And I didn't really have any comprehension of it, but it was just the practice of it, the habit of reading my Bible and studying it and memorizing verses. And so, I was doing that every morning before school. And no other kid my age was doing that. And not because they didn't want to, or maybe they just didn't know. They didn't have that person telling them how important it was. And I learned so many principles from the Bible. And when it comes to investing, I think one of the biggest ones I learned is that at a young age is that you don't have to take away to benefit in business or to have success. And there's a way to find a benefit for both sides of the deal to where you can repeat that process over and over. And that's so important in a small town because you only have so many people you can work with. So that's a huge principle I learned. And so as I started getting older, maybe in the 7 to, let's just say, 14 range, we started getting into more business and investing books. And once again, maybe I didn't have the best comprehension of it, but it was just the practice and putting those ideas in my head. Because, I didn't hear any of the stuff I read in the books at home at school. And that was so odd to me. I was like, my dad seems to think this is so important for me to learn, but somehow I haven't even heard of any about this in school. And so that, it got my brain turning. It got me thinking. And so I remember growing up, and even in Upward, or when I was 3, Upward basketball, Upward soccer, and then getting into middle school, no matter what it was that I did, I was doing it 100%. And that was no option to me. I was going to do that whether I liked it or not because my father always pushed me. Maybe I wasn't the best, but I was always going to out-practice, outdo, and outwork everybody else. And that is another principle that he ingrained in me. So after those, years of Bible reading and Bible memorizing and then starting to learn about business and investing and then actually buying my first investment property at 14 and starting to learn the process and the numbers and seeing the deal go through and how that works over a period of time, and then keeping up with that throughout high school. And then that is also when the mindset change really happened, is when I got into high school. And so we start learning more, and then especially my junior and senior year, when everybody's trying to decide what they're going to do after high school, which most go to college or a trade school or go right into the workforce, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. Those are all great options, and it depends on your situation, depends on how you see your future. And so I really started thinking about what I wanted to do. All of my best friends were going to college, and it sounded like, the most fun, the best experience, but I had to really meditate and think about the things I was taught growing up and how maybe that I didn't want to take the same path. Because I knew I didn't want to sit behind a desk or get a job after college and really live the same life that I see many people live. I didn't want that. I wanted something different. I wanted to have freedom. I remember growing up, my dad was with me at all of my games. He was there. He practiced with me. He studied with me. And that's so important. I want to pass that down to my children and to my family. And I just don't really see that available maybe when you're working a 9 to 5 as much, or when you're in the big corporations or working in a factory like that. So I started to meditate on what I wanted to do. And yes, there's pros and cons to both sides, right? The college experience is great, and getting out on your own and starting to learning how to carry yourself maybe as a man and just doing that process. And I knew that, and it was very important. And of course, all my buddies were there. And so it was really hard for me to make a decision on what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, I had to think how I saw my future and the steps I needed to take to get there. And I think that was the most important part. I realized that time is my most valuable asset. And putting my time into 4 years of college, even in high school, when I was reading, investing in business books in high school, the work we were doing, that had no benefit to me. I didn't really see the benefit in it. I knew I wanted to be an investor at the end of the day, whether I went to college or went straight into it. So I remember sitting in my classroom, and I was done with my work, and I pulled out my investing book and started reading. And then, everybody else is kind of doing their own thing, and the teacher looks up and sees me, and she says, "Adam, what book are you reading?" And the book was Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. So I told her, and she was like, "Oh, so you're going to be all, big and rich one day?" And I was like, I didn't really say anything in the moment, but I'm thinking to myself, well, I know I don't want to be poor, be in the same spot of living from paycheck to paycheck. I had a different vision. I had a different future that I wanted that was not the same as everybody else. And so I meditated on those things and realized that the school path just wasn't going to fulfill my needs that I was looking for. I didn't need the schoolwork. I knew I wanted to be in real estate. So I took that into my mind, and then I was like, well, yes, I can go get the college experience and make these connections, but at the end of the day, maybe some of those connections will help me in the future. But being here and being in the moment and being in it, there's nothing, you can't beat that because it's real-time experience. So by the end of my senior year, I was working on my real estate license and had decided I was going to go straight into investing. And, I think yes, it's a different path than most people take, but I think it's a path that maybe needs to be meditated upon more in school. And I think the reason it's not is because people just don't know. And, I hope that maybe there are more people out there like me that are 18 and 19, and they're maybe like, well, I don't really want to go to college, don't really want to go to a trade school, but they just don't even know that there's another option. And I think that that's so vital to know throughout school. That way you can make that decision because maybe it is the path you want to take. And so I really took that into consideration, and I knew that I had such an advantage growing up being taught those principles and that different mindset. And reading the Bible and reading the investing books and then seeing the mindset in school, hearing it, the way people spoke. You can hear it when somebody really lives paycheck to paycheck. You hear it the way they speak. So I had made that decision to come straight out of high school and go right into investing. And like I said, I really think that should be meditated upon more. And I really appreciate you joining with us today. And I hope you come and see us again soon. Again, my name's Adam Arnold, and thank you for being with us today.